Hello there, and welcome to Back to the Franchise.
You've got to come back with me.
Where?
Back to the
Franchise.
Welcome back to another episode of Back to the Franchise. Allow us to introduce ourselves. I am your co-host, Timothy Glenn, and being co-host, that gives me power, unlimited power. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host. He has the high ground. It's Tanner Wilcox.
Hello.
Tanner, it was said you would bring balance to the podcast, not destroy it.
Is there a line that goes with that? Because
You could just yell, "You hate me."
oh yeah, I'm not gonna do that, Tim. I don't hate you. Plus, that's really it's really just an awkward garble line anyway.
Sure. Tanner, your eyes are glowing yellow and red with anger and hatred.
You've also lost your legs and your arms. Weird.
Well, I have. I don't know about you. Okay, off to a great start. Anyway, welcome back to the podcast where we run down entries in a movie franchise in anticipation of a new release. In this case, we're counting down to The Mandalorian and Grogu. We are finishing up our rundown of the prequel trilogy today with episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Release date was May 19th, 2005, written and directed by George Lucas. Before we get into it, though, do know, as always, we are going into spoilers. This movie is 21 years old. It could drink, so if you haven't seen it, I don't know, go home and rethink your life. That's a quote from the last one. But Tanner, we talked a little bit about our personal histories with the prequel trilogies as, millennials, as having grown up with them, but about this one in particular.
About my personal history with this one?
Yeah.
Tim, I'm pumped about this movie. I was pumped about it when it came out in 2005. I'm still pumped about it. I love it. It was a big hit for me when it was new. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about this one. I thoroughly enjoy it.
I assume you saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. This is the first one of these that I distinctly remember. I mean, I guess I was old enough to remember my life at that point, but this is the first one I remember coming out, and it was like a big kind of like event movie. It was, I mean, at that point, we thought it was the end of Star Wars because they had finished the entire, what we thought then was all to tell, and maybe they should have stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a lot of like anticipation around it. I remember everybody being excited about it. I remember there being a lot of buzz about it. I remember watching it, and then me and my cousin Brian playing the entire Battlefront 2 campaign for like 2 nights straight. So it was, we were hyped on this movie.
Star Wars fever.
Yeah. It was
Speaking of Battlefront, we were talking a little bit last time about how we weren't sure if those 2 original games were out by the time of Clones. I did look it up in preparation for this one. So the first Battlefront came out in 2004, and the second one came out in 2005. So it's a little bit more Revenge of the Sith era.
Oh, and that makes more sense because I feel like I remember it more around this same time anyway.
Yeah. Did you play there's also the Revenge of the Sith video game, like specifically the movie. Did you play that?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that game was pretty good. Like
Really?
Yeah, back when like every movie got a tie-in video game, but that one was one of the good ones.
I was just going to say, do you remember all the movie tie-in games? Because there wasn't like a lot of great ones, except for I will say I loved the King Kong tie-in.
Oh, yes. I played half of that.
That was great.
I got to like the Brontosaurus Rampage, and then I stopped playing it.
Oh, there's some parts of that game that are really hard.
Yeah, I think it's why it was just too hard for me. But yeah, that was the era of movie tie-in games. Now that never happens. Okay, let's get into this movie specifically. The writing for this one starts before Attack of the Clones is even out in theaters. George Lucas, of course, had this story mapped out for decades at this point, but as far as the actual writing process, it starts before. So just before May of 2002, it starts before that. I do have we didn't talk a lot about last time in terms of like alternate plot points, but this time I actually do have quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
So let's start with the opening sequence. So the opening sequence was originally conceived to be a montage, which would have, shown the escapades of Anakin and Obi-Wan and various other Jedi over the years as the Clone Wars progressed. So you get that kind of, that sense that there's been this big jump in time and that these guys have gone on a lot of adventures in the years since Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones.
That's interesting. Is that the only plot point? Just before I elaborate on it?
No, I do have some more. And in fact, a lot of them have to do with the opening sequence, but that was the original idea, was to show the passage of time early.
Okay. What was the other ones?
The other thing I had was that in the opening sequence, there was a scrapped bit of dialogue that would have had Palpatine tell Anakin after he's, defeated Dooku and he has him at his, lightsaber blades, that Dooku had arranged to have Anakin's mother Shmi killed by the Tusken Raiders,
Oh.
but that was taken out because, I don't know, I guess I thought it was too...
Actually, you know why I don't like that plot point?
Yeah.
Because I think it gives like more of an excusable reason for Anakin to do things he's not supposed to do, Like he always, from the first movie, he has this tie to his mother and of course not wanting to leave her and missing her, which is all stuff that feeds into his kind of dark-sidedness. But if you have a villain kill his mom and then he kills Dooku out of like revenge, that's an excusable, for most people, that would be like a justifiable reason for him to kill him. And instead, in that opening scene, he's just like kind of wrestling with like, hey, this isn't like the Jedi way. I'm not supposed to execute him. And, Palpatine's like, do it.
Do it.
So I think I like how it went in the final draft, because I think it's showing more of his free will and that he's making these choices that are kind of wrong choices on his own.
He's like looking back to see if Obi-Wan's still unconscious. He's like,
yeah, because he's like,
yep, okay, cool, bye.
Obi-Wan wouldn't want me to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
He's not here. He'll never know. Oh no, Dooku got accidentally decapitated during our fight. He ran into my lightsaber 10 times.
I was just going to say, I was like, he ran into my lightsaber 10 times.
Yeah, I see that, as having... Because, I mean, I do love that Palpatine is this kind of like master puppeteer, this idea that he's, playing like 11D chess with all of these different, influences on Anakin and the galaxy as a whole. But, I mean, at a certain point, you do have to give Anakin agency and decisions, and he still has to choose, basically, to go to the dark side.
Yeah, that shitbag is accountable for his own actions.
Yeah, and I don't want them to totally alleviate him of all of the the stuff he does or chooses. I do think that I mean, going back to the montage sequence, I mean, I love the opening sequence as it is, but so I wouldn't change it, but I do kind of wish there was more of a indication that a lot of time had passed since the last movie, like to show that Anakin has had so much more experience, because in this one they kind of just throw you into it and you're kind of left to just infer that he's stronger and more skilled.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that too, because there is kind of a strong juxtaposition between like his confidence and his skill in this one as opposed to Attack the Clones. But I love the opening of this movie. I think it sets the pace of the movie really well. I think this one kind of just throws you into the action and it kind of stays steady throughout. So I like that part. And then but yeah, if you're not paying attention to the dialogue, then there's not really a way of knowing that there is a passage of time, because, when he first sees Obi-Wan again, they talk about how he's been like gone on this system for so many months. And yeah, so like there's conversations where it tells you that they've been doing kind of their own side missions. But yeah, I don't know that I don't know. The montage would have been cool to see like what other Jedi were doing, I guess. But I like how it's left.
And I mean, nowadays, I guess you have if you want to, you have the Clone Wars TV show, the animated one. So you can go back and, relive. Like, I mean, we weren't going to do that for this rewatch. We weren't going to just watch Attack of the Clones and then watch 7 seasons of a TV show before we watched Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
But... speaking of the opening intro, though, the opening sequence of the space battle and then the fight on the Confederate starship, or not Confederate, the Separatist starship, the original cut of that whole sequence from the space battle to the ship crashing was an hour long.
Really?
Yeah, they filmed a lot.
Well, that puts George Lucas's 25-minute pod racing scene to shame.
Pretty much. Although you can, apparently, I researched that the extra footage of that whole sequence is, maybe not the whole sequence, but a lot of it is in the video game Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Oh.
So it exists out there. Hang on, I'm going to look up how long it actually is. How long is the opening sequence to Revenge of the Sith?
I'm going to say it's 18 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much. It says approximately 20 minutes. So that's a
Woo!
That's a good long opening,
Yeah.
which I'm fine with. I mean, I love that sequence. If we're still talking about it, but yeah, I could see, yeah, having it be an hour long. It's like its own, like, that would be like a TV special to show before you go see Revenge of the Sith. Make sure to tune into ABC to check out the the little what happens to Dooku in the beginning. And speaking of the original cut being longer, the original cut of the whole movie itself was 4 hours.
Really?
Yeah, as opposed to the 1 hour 40 that it is. 140 minutes it is now. So 2 hours 20. So you add back in that 40 minutes, then it's 3 hours, and then there's another hour, I guess, on top of that. So yeah, 4 hours long.
Wow.
Never going to happen, obviously. But getting back into the writing process of this movie, Revenge of the Sith, of course, is kind of a reference to the original title for Return of the Jedi, as we talked about in that episode, having originally been called Revenge of the Jedi. And now that, the Sith is the subject of the subtitle, George Lucas thought it was more appropriate now to go back to Revenge.
Yeah, I agree with that. Good call, George.
And it kind of sets this up as, like, it matches the tone of, like, if you look at, like, Empire Strikes Back, that's appropriate because that movie is darker, ends with the bad guys winning, in a sense, And this is kind of the same way. Alternative titles, I should say, that were speculated upon on the internet online were Rise of the Empire, The Creeping Fear, and Birth of the Empire.
Ugh.
None.
Rise of the Empire's fine. The rest of them stinkers.
Star Wars Episode 3, The Creeping Fear. Watch out, that fear is creeping.
Creeping. It reminds me of Creeping Crystal from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Is that in season 2?
Yeah, it's when they're at no, it's season 1. It's when they go to Omashu and King Boomy puts them on, like, the crystal rings.
Oh, yes.
And he's like, "Careful, your friends are in Creeping Crystal." Anyway, weird segue. Sorry.
Around the same time. A couple more sequences that were thought of, that were conceived, that did not make the final cut or even filmed. Originally, they were going to have, for the Kashyyyk sequence with the Wookiees and stuff, they were going to show a 10-year-old Han Solo being raised by Chewbacca.
What?
Yeah, as long as we're going to prequel stuff. Yeah, there would be like,
no, because I like the buddy aspect of Han and Chewie, not like a parenting aspect.
Yeah, I don't know why they thought that was, like, because that's never been their dynamic. Like,
no, their dynamic was always like space pals.
And Han's always been in charge, so to suggest that Chewbacca is like this, like, foster parent or whatever, adoptive parent, like, is weird.
Yeah. No, but I do like how they gave us, like, that little bit of Chewbacca in this movie when Yoda goes to Kashyyyk,
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a fun little nod.
Yeah. And now we get, of course, now that that's not canon, that Han was raised on Kashyyyk by Chewie, we do get the actual, however you feel about Solo, the spin-off movie, we do eventually get their meeting, and it is more in keeping with their relationship in the original movies. Another scene that was not included was Palpatine revealing to Anakin, I guess during, like, the opera sequence or whatever, like when he's trying to, like, seduce him, that he had created him through the midichlorians. We talked about in the original Phantom Menace how Anakin was like this Jesus-y figure, born out of no fatherhood, out of the Force. But then Palpatine was supposed to say, "No, I created you."
See, and I'm glad that didn't happen either, because I don't know, it wouldn't explain, like, how Palpatine would have had the power to do that, or if it was just a lie, who knows?
Or just like some vague, like, dark side power,
Yeah, but even then, Sidious's whole plan is because he's like, oh, well, Darth Vader is going to be more powerful than any previous Sith or Jedi. And it's like, well, how? Because if you're doing these immaculate conceptions and creating powerful beings, like, how are you able to do that? I don't know. I'm glad that was scrapped.
He does mention in the movie very briefly when he's talking about Darth Plagueis the Wise, that Darth Plagueis had found the ability to create life. That's all he says. I assume it would have come in there that, oh, and I figured it out too.
I'm glad they left it out, because I always took that scene. I don't even know if he's telling the truth. I mean, he's obviously telling Anakin what he wants to hear because he has this fear of Padme dying. So he's clearly baiting him with that. Like, hey, there's these other force powers in the dark side that'll save the people you love. I don't know what's happening in your personal life, but maybe there's someone who you love who's going to die. Maybe in childbirth. Who knows? Ooh.
Oh, that senator lady is really a nice companion you've got there. Shame if anything happened to her.
Okay, can we talk about that for a second? Because I didn't realize this until this rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody questions why Padme is pregnant in this whole movie. Not that she should be like shamed, you know, what if she was just a single mom, whatever. She doesn't have like a male companion or someone to, and she's not out of the public eye. Like she's still an active, prominent senator for her planet. And no one's like, hey, who knocked up Padme? Like, we're just not going to talk about this. She never talks about her baby daddy.
Jar Jar, was that you?
Well, yeah, like it's just never questioned by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But their whole relationship is a secret. So why people are just thinking that I don't know. That was weird to me. And I just realized it on this watch through.
There were also some sequences that were shot that were cut from the movie that included, they did have some scenes that were cut of Padme, like dealing with her and like all these other senators who were like, oh, we like, this whole like Palpatine thing is scary. We can't let him come to power. It's basically like the early formations of the rebellion, you know? So maybe somewhere in there it could have been lost.
I don't know.
Mon Mothma was also part of that that cut sequence, played by Genevieve O'Reilly, who plays her in Rogue One and Andor. So she would have been in this movie.
Huh.
Yeah. But while we're still speaking about Palpatine and the creation of, you know, of life, they also cut that because they thought it would be too similar to the reveal of Darth Vader being Luke's father in Empire. Like that beat would be too similar.
What do you mean? Like if he had said, oh, like if Palpatine basically was like, I'm your father because
I am your father.
You.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, and it would have changed their dynamic too, from being just master and apprentice to father and, well, sort of like quasi father and son. It also changes that. It'd be weird.
Yeah.
They also had a sequence that was not included in the script that was going to be of Yoda talking to Qui-Gon Jinn at the end of the movie.
Oh.
But it was cut because they kind of wanted to keep the you know, resolution scenes as focusing on the Skywalkers, so to speak, like how their story ends or begins. So that's why we have that little, like, you know, quick line about how Yoda brings it up to Obi-Wan, but then we don't ever see that happen or come to fruition until much later, not until the Obi-Wan series. Last bit, a little bit of information I have on the writing process of this movie, the conception of this movie, was that Kashyyyk, the Wookiee planet, was modeled after how they portrayed the Wookiees in the Star Wars Holiday Special, going back to that atrocity.
What? Go say that again.
The Star Wars Holiday Special had some influence on how Kashyyyk was designed, you know, since the special was all about like Chewie's family and stuff.
You know, I'm fine not knowing that, or not knowing. I'm glad that I didn't need to watch the monstrosity of the Holiday Special to know that. That's where the design of the planet came from.
Okay, let's get into casting. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of big, you know, additions to this movie that were in the last one, but we have Hayden Christensen coming back as Anakin Skywalker. The only note I have on him for this movie is that he had to really bulk up for this one. He went from 160 to 185 pounds.
And all they give him is one sweaty nightmare scene where he wakes up shirtless.
Yeah.
Well, because really, like his other costuming, you can't tell that he's like more ripped than he was in the last one.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not super necessary.
No. So I feel like if production was like, hey, you need to put on this, you know, muscle weight, besides that one scene where they make him, you know, wake up in a panic sweat and he's all sweaty and shirtless.
I mean, he does his own stunts in the movie. Like all of and including Obi-Wan, like Ewan McGregor, like they do their own lightsaber stuff. So I mean, being in better shape was also probably just like helpful in that regard.
Helpful. Yeah.
Hayden Christensen also, for the final sequence of him turning into Darth Vader, he had to beg George Lucas to get to wear the suit in that sequence because he wasn't tall enough. David Prowse, the original actor who played Vader, was notably 6'6", and Christensen is only 6 feet tall. So it was not planned to have him be Vader, but he got his way.
Oh, he got to wear it?
Yeah. He had to wear lifts, though, in the shoes. And he had to, like, his eyes in the mask were not where the eye masks were. They were where the mouthpiece was. So that's where he was looking at, was to the mouthpiece.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how they had to compensate for that. But it's him.
That's a fun fact, though.
Yeah. Good for him. Just wore him down like, oh, Papa George, please. Papa George, please.
You made me say all this terrible dialogue, please.
Please let me shout no in James Earl Jones's voice. So yeah, we also get Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan Kenobi, who also trained to do all the lightsabering duels with Hayden Christensen, as they also did in Clones. We also got Natalie Portman coming back as Padme Amidala, Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious, Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu, Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa, getting more to do in this movie, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO, Kenny Baker as R2-D2, and Frank Oz as Yoda. We also get Christopher Lee coming back for a little bit as Count Dooku, aka Darth Tyrannus. He had to film his scenes, though, in only 2 days.
Christopher Lee?
Yeah, because he was actually doing pickup shots for Return of the King at the time.
Oh, which is fun because actually all of his scenes in Return of the King were cut and they're only featured on the extended edition.
Yeah, it's like him getting like spoilers for Return of the King, I guess, but him getting like stabbed by Worm Tongue. What's his name? The creepy guy.
Yep. By Sheriff Lee Brackett from Halloween.
Oh, it's Brad Dourif. That's right. I forgot. Ugh.
But yeah, Worm Tongue.
Okay. So yeah, he's only able to be available for this movie for a couple days. But I mean, the fact that they got I'm sure again, like he didn't do a lot of his own stunts, but the fact that they got his whole scene like in 2 days, pretty good.
Yeah.
Replacing him kind of in this movie since Dooku dies so early is General Grievous, who's voiced by Matthew Wood. Matthew Wood is just a sound engineer. He's not really a notable voice actor. In fact, they only went with him because their original actor dropped out. Do you know who that was?
No.
It was Gary Oldman.
Stop. What?
Yeah, they originally cast Gary Oldman to play General Grievous.
He was like, sorry guys, I'm already doing a ton of voice work for the Goblet of Fire. I can't be there.
Sorry guys, I gotta be in a fireplace. No, actually, and there was some conflicting reports about why he wasn't in the movie. There was one that said it was just scheduling conflicts, but then I found a more credible one that said that Oldman claimed the film was made outside of the Screen Actors Guild, so him being part of the Screen Actors Guild prevented him from being in the movie or being a part of the movie. But then there was Matthew Wood, who did voice Grievous, said that Gary Oldman was never cast to begin with. So there's a little bit of a, discrepancy in people's accounts, but
interesting.
I mean, he would have killed that part. I mean, I don't know what would I love the way Grievous sounds now, but he would have owned that. I mean, he does great villain work.
Yeah, he does. I mean, Gary Oldman can do anything, but I do like General Grievous, and I've always liked his voice, and I don't know what accent they give him, or if it's like an actual credible like dialect accent from an existing language, but I like it.
Yeah, it's good. Although Matthew Wood did not voice Grievous's coughing in this movie. The coughing was supplied by George Lucas himself.
What?
Because he was going through he had like a respiratory illness at the time of shooting for a part of it. So he just recorded his own coughing and put it in.
I like that more though than could you imagine if it was a different actor for just the coughs? So you could be like, hey guys, that's me when he coughs. Poor George Lucas though, because that's such a gross cough.
Yeah, well, he was going through it. He was like, this will sound great for the movie. And then last, we also get Temuera Morrison coming back to play the various clone troopers, Commander Cody et al.
Oh, you mean the floating head of Commander Cody, since they all only give him a CGI body?
Yeah, apparently all the clones are CGI in this one too, which is weird.
That's my only complaint about this movie. Really, I hate that. And especially in scenes where he has his helmet off and if he's talking to Obi-Wan with his helmet off, just give him a suit. Give the actor a costume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. All right, let's get into filming. The first scene shot for this movie is they actually shot a scene for this movie in Attack of the Clones in 2000, which is the final scene on Tatooine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I guess Joel Edgerton and whoever plays Aunt Beru did not even film anything for this movie. I mean, during the actual shoot of it, because they just did it back then. So I guess technically Ewan McGregor too would be younger in that last scene than he is in the rest of the movie, because that was filmed 3 years before.
Wow.
Yeah. Although I guess you can't really tell because you get the hood on and stuff, but but yeah, they knew how they wanted it to end with Obi-Wan handing baby Luke over to them, so they just shot it. I mean, it doesn't have any dialogue, that scene, so they just shot it back then and then used it for this one. But the actual principal photography for this movie runs from June of 2003 to September, so another 3 months shoot, but it's basically about the same as the last few ones. Most of it though was shot on a soundstage, Fox Studios, again, Australia and Sydney. There's not a whole lot of location shooting on this one.
You mean in these incredibly CGI'd worlds they didn't shoot on location anywhere? Shocking.
Well, I mean, there's not like a lot to. I mean, as I was watching this, there's a lot more indoor sequences or sequences that can be faked on a soundstage. You know,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of like they don't go to like a lot of like distinct worlds that you have to like. Oh, we have to go to the desert. You know,
Yeah, I feel like most of this movie is just Coruscant.
a lot of Coruscant, even Kashyyyk. Like that whole sequence on Kashyyyk was that battle sequence was filmed on a soundstage. The exteriors, like of the background of like the mountains and stuff, they
Mhm.
filmed that stuff in Thailand. Like, and I have it here as Phuket, Thailand. I don't know if it's pronounced fuck it, but it looks like fuck it to me.
Phuket?
Oh, Sarah, yeah. Is that it? Have you heard it before?
I think so. I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna say that because I doubt that it's fuck it.
Yeah, so they filmed like the background basically there. So they didn't really have a bunch of actors running around the actual beaches of Thailand, you know.
Okay.
And even for Mustafar, like a lot of that was soundstage. Like and then they actually just interestingly, Mount Etna in Italy erupted during the filming of this movie. So they actually sent people there to film the real volcanic eruption. So a lot of the lava you see in the movie is real.
Like those would be great for Mustafar.
Yeah. The movie gods are on our side. Let's go, go, go.
Can I ask a question about Mustafar?
Yeah.
That came up while we were watching this.
Mhm.
What the fuck is that planet's purpose? What are they mining there? Lava?
I don't know. Let's look it up.
Because that whole fight scene, the whole planet is volcanic. It's all active eruptions. So and there's always like machinery scooping up buckets of lava. It's like, what are they using the lava for?
It says in this very, summation paragraph that I found, it just says valuable minerals, metals, heavy elements, include dolomite, gold, micronite, and bronzium.
Sounds like a cop out. You're just scooping up buckets of lava for no reason.
Using it for tractor beams, droids. Yeah. I mean, really all it is just an excuse to go to like a
Cool lava planet.
a new like kind of planet that is distinct of it has like only one feature, which is like super. You think about it, like Star Wars has so many planets. It's just like forest planet, ice planet, lava planet. Like none of these places have like diversity anywhere. It's just the whole thing is just one like geological feature.
Well, and because even Coruscant, it's kind of like a cool planet because you're like, oh, the whole planet's one continuous city, but it's like city planet. The only one that's like a normal place is Naboo.
Yeah, Naboo, normal. Tatooine's a whole desert planet. Geonosis is a desert planet. Endor is a moon, but it's all forest. Like there's so many of them, and I think later on they get away from that. But as far as George Lucas is concerned, that's pretty much all he does. It's just like one thing. Which I don't mean to pick on Mustafar for that reason. I mean, Mustafar is one of my favorite planets of all of them. I mean, it is super appropriate for what's happening on that, story wise.
Yeah.
It's very scenic, but it does continue that trend of just like, the whole thing is just this. And I don't know. I mean, I would be curious to ask like a, I don't know, what would you call it? Like a planetary geologist or whatever. Like can a planet that's only one thing even support like life? Is it diverse enough to like even, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I doubt there'd be any life on Mustafar. It's all volcanic eruption. So it's all lava or like toxic volcanic gas that you're breathing.
We do see some workers there. I don't know if they're like residents of Mustafar or if they were just.
Aren't they droids?
No, there's a couple of them that no. There's a couple of them that are actual like alien creatures. Like as they're fighting on the river on the barge, there's like a couple guys with like, big poles or they're pulling and they're like, what the hell are you guys doing?
Oh.
Anyway, I don't know. The budget for this movie specifically was $113 million, which today would be $189 in 2026 money. So another big spender. They finish filming in September of 2003, but then they actually go back for reshoots in August of 2004 through January of 2005. They film a lot of that in Shepperton Studios in Surrey, England, and Elstree Studios in Hertfordshire.
Oh.
We love Hertfordshire, yes.
I see we've abandoned Leavesden Studios, though.
Yes, no Leavesden, just Hertfordshire. But like you were saying, like we were talking a little bit about how, we didn't want the focus to be on Anakin, his whole destiny being crafted by Palpatine, and more out of fear for losing Padme. In fact, all of these reshoot stuff for 5 months basically was done to add those like sequences of Anakin fearing Padme's death, and that is the main, contributor to his turn to the dark side.
Yeah.
Because originally, in the original filming of the movie, his motivation for turning to the dark side is just like, oh, the Jedi are evil and they're rising up, and Palpatine's my buddy. And Lucas felt like they had to add a little bit more to make it more, relatable and emotional. So that whole subplot was done in reshoots.
Interesting.
Which is weird because it feels so natural. Like if you look at Anakin's arc from all the movies, he's afraid for his mom when he's a kid, especially when he has to leave her and she's a freaking slave. So of course he's afraid for her. And then he grows up and then he tries to save her and she dies. And then he worries something about Padme. Like, it feels very natural. So the fact that wasn't even part of the original idea, and Padme dying wasn't even actually part of the original, one of the original concepts of the movie. Originally, she was going to go to, what's the planet? Alderaan with baby Leia, which would match what Leia says in Jedi having remembered her, I guess, when she was very young. But they ended up changing that too, to Padme dying in childbirth.
Well, and that's kind of shitty too, because she's like, oh yes, I'm gonna go with my daughter to Alderaan. The boy though, fuck him. Which they already kind of do anyway, because they're just like, hey, the girl can go be a princess on this beautiful planet. The boy, we're gonna shove him in the desert trash heap.
Yeah.
So unfair.
With his step uncle, who apparently Anakin will not think to visit and check to see if he's there.
Yeah, I think that's literally the worst hiding place. I'm like, oh, the one planet that he's from? Weird.
Like when we were watching the Attack of the Clones last time, during that sequence where they visit, I'm like, dude, you're there. How do you not think to check relatives? I know you don't have immediate relatives, but you have a step family.
Yeah, I think that's kind of poor planning.
Anyway, but that was, you can't get around that plot point. I mean, I guess Lucas decides, well, okay, I guess I'll kind of retcon the fact that Leia remembers Padme, but can't really retcon Luke being on Tatooine forever.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into post-production now. Post-production, ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, starts the visual effects process during the movie shoot, and they only finish a week before the movie's actually released. In post-production, they also, we kind of already mentioned a little bit of the deleted scenes. So they delete a lot of the Padme stuff with Bail Organa and Mon Mothma. They also delete a scene of Yoda arriving on Dagobah at the very end in his exile.
Oh.
The producer on this movie, Rick McCallum, really wanted them to keep that. But again, Lucas wanted them to keep the focus at the end on the Skywalkers, Anakin, Luke, Leia, how they, where they end up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that would have been so distracting to suddenly see Yoda go to Dagobah. They filmed it, there's a whole segment.
Yeah, I think it'd be fine to see. I don't think that it also is detrimental to cut it because he says I'm going into exile. So you know where he's gonna go, but that doesn't mean I don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm. They also cut a scene on the opening starship, or at least I assume it's the opening starship, because what the scene entails is a Jedi named Shaak Ti being murdered by General Grievous, and it happens in front of Obi-Wan and Anakin. So I don't know when all those three characters would be together at the same time besides that. So
yeah, I don't know either.
Shaak Ti is, for those who don't know, she's the same, I think she's the same species as Ahsoka, which we haven't really gone into yet. But yeah, same species, a Togruta. John Williams scores this movie, of course, as to keep the Eldritch gods from rising up and destroying the world. So John Williams has to come back for that reason.
But also comes back with more bangers, dude. Because I feel like the stuff that's added to this one rivals, Duel of the Fates. I mean, the ending score with Anakin and Obi-Wan's battle, top tier.
Yeah, what's that one called? The Battle of the Heroes?
I think so. I'm going to look it up. I think it's the Battle of the Hero. Yeah, Battle of the Heroes, which to me, bad name, lazy, but
sure.
I think it's phenomenal work.
Yeah, tone, and it sets the tone. You feel the weight of the emotion, the themes, completely.
Yes, for
so,
sure.
It's I mean, if we're talking individual John Williams scores in this movie or in these franchises, New Hope, Empire, this Phantom Menace, some of the better ones. Yeah. It's up there. Although him scoring this movie meant that he could not score Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Really?
Yeah. He had done the first three Harry Potter movies, but because of the release schedules being the same year, he could not do this one.
Which is interesting because I actually like the way that not to get into Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire has probably the most noticeable change in its scoring, like especially in the opening, with like the main title theme. It's very like dark, because that opening scene is very dark in Goblet of Fire, and I like it because that's when those movies really start to feel a lot darker. So I'm not sad about that because I think we still got some really great music in Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, and John Williams doesn't come back to do any of the Harry Potters after that. That's the last one.
No, yeah.
So possibly a different universe. He does all of them if he doesn't have to do Star Wars. But interesting. Although I should mention, I shouldn't put if you are like saying like, oh dang you Star Wars for taking John Williams away from Harry Potter. Like just know that he also chose Munich, Memoirs of a Geisha, and War of the Worlds over Goblet of Fire.
Maybe he was just really done with Harry Potter by that point.
Well, I need that, and he just wants to work with Spielberg more.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, let's get into our review section of the movie. Tanner, I mean, you're a big fan of the prequels more than me, but I think we're aligned in that this is the best one.
Yeah, I would say that. And I think this one's the most fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think I think there's zero like pacing issues with this movie. I think from the get-go, it's kind of all action. Yeah, I don't really have a lot of negative to say about it. I really enjoy this movie. I've always liked it. I think it's well done. I think it holds up well today. Even though, we both have our qualms with George Lucas CGI. Like there's a lot less of it that's distracting in this one. With the exception of Commander Cody, which just drives me nuts. But yeah. I love this movie. Love it.
Yeah, rewatching it, and I've seen this movie, multiple times in the years since. But rewatching it now for this one, like I think this was the first time where I was like, oh, this movie like actually pretty freaking rips, Like this one is sick.
Yeah, and I mean there's things you can say about it that are like there's still some dialogue problems, but I think that's just that's George Lucas's fault.
Well, that's the case for everything that, he touches in this universe.
But this one also gives you how we talked about like in Phantom when Darth Maul has his dual lightsaber reveal. That's kind of like ooh, here's our bigger and better Star Wars moment. I think they gave us that a little bit too with like the General Grievous battle. Cause I remember watching that in theaters, and then when he pulls out his lightsabers, it starts with 2 and then it's 4. And you're like, oh, what?
And it's like lightsaber that he's been collecting from dead Jedi.
Yes, which like it makes him a much kind of like scarier villain right there. I'm like, oh, this is sick. Like,
although come to think of it, I guess if they had included that scene of him killing Shakti and taking her lightsaber, that would have added to that menace factor. But
yeah.
But I do, yeah, okay, so as long as we're talking about General Grievous in this movie, I love General Grievous. I think he's standout villain.
Yeah, I think he's a very cool character for not being like a quote-unquote like Sith or like a Sith apprentice, because he's not
Force
really.
User.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting character. I think it's cool that, he's like a robotic character with organic like organs. I'm like, that's an interesting choice to make.
And he holds up too, like all these years later.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm telling you though. Like 05 CGI is just prime. He's up there with, Davy Jones from Dead Man's Chest, doing good work.
Yeah, I just wanted to look up really quick how much of him was CGI. So yeah, he was 100% CGI. And that's why, I mean, the fact that I had to look that up is because like if it told me he was like puppeteered, I would have believed it.
Yeah.
Like
I think his character design is great.
Yeah.
I guess if we're reviewing things too, I feel kind of bad because Natalie Portman again, like I feel like she doesn't have a lot to do in this one. She's kind of worrying about Anakin for most of it, She's in her apartment, she's pregnant, she's just kind of waiting around for Anakin a lot. I love her scene with him in the like third act where she flies to Mustafar to like confront him. I think that speech is great. I think it's in my life it's very quotable because anytime someone can't do anything, I just send them a gif of Padme crying and say, "You're breaking my heart."
You're breaking my heart. You're going on a path I can't follow. I don't want Chinese food.
Yeah. Yep. So that's very quotable in my life and I love it.
Yeah, she's better in this movie. I mean, she has to deal with a lot of bad dialogue, but
yeah,
she's better in this movie than she is in the last one. And I mean, I don't know about Phantom, but like definitely the last one.
Yeah, I just wish that the first half of the movie, her storyline kind of had a little more to it. But,
Yeah, I mean, at least in the last one, she had that like action sequence.
Yeah.
A couple of them. Although, I mean, it does play into I mean, this whole movie plays into like the operatic, like tragic storytelling, And George Lucas wanted to lean into the romantic side of that tragic storytelling in this one. So he definitely emphasized Padme's relationship with Anakin in this one on purpose because of where it ends, with them to make it more impactful. So while I do wish he had more to do, like if it, like maybe some Senate stuff or whatever at the very least, I don't bemoan what it was replaced for,
Sure. Yeah. I also will say, since I like to point out costuming and hair in these movies.
Oh, yes.
The scene where ripped Anakin wakes up from his nightmare and gets up and walks out into the living room, and then Padme gets up. Her nightgown, the whole collar and dangly sleeves is strands of pearls. And I'm like, who the fuck is sleeping in a gown that has sleeves of pearl strands? Like, she's sleeping on her side, and her hair is in a full, like, metal headdress. I'm like, you want me to believe that this bougie bitch is sleeping in this stuff? No.
Are you sure she didn't just get up and then put that on?
No, because she rolls over in bed and her hair's in like the headdress.
Mm-hmm.
And Anakin wakes up and looks over at her when she's sleeping, and you can see the pearls draped all over her shoulder. And I'm like, this is a nightgown? But like, yeah. Anyway, that's my other complaint, George Lucas. You have no idea what women sleep in. Because it ain't gowns with sleeves of pearls.
She's a space woman, Tanner. Space women have different customs.
Yeah. She's so elegant, though.
The Naboo, she's still royalty. The Nabooians, I'm only wearing 5 pieces of, my tiara now.
Yeah. Anyway, she real bougie in this one, but good for her.
Well, she's got to look like a trophy wife, I guess,
She has to look like someone that you are terrified of losing at all costs.
Just the perfect creature. Doesn't she have the Leia hair in this one, or is it the last one at one point?
No, there's one scene. It's not quite Leia hair, but yeah, it's like space bun-esque, but they're kind of in more of like a point, like they're like almost triangular shaped, and they're held on with like this metal kind of bracket thing. But that's in a scene. It's in like an earlier scene. She's talking to Jar Jar, or she's in the Senate Council or something. But yeah, there is a scene where she's got like space bunish hair.
I'm looking at the images. I think it's from Attack of the Clones, but
is it?
It looks like scenes from Attack of the Clones, yeah. So you're not this one, but okay. So let's transition from Padme to Anakin himself, and his transition to the dark side. I noticed in this movie, rewatching it, that once the ship crashes at the beginning and they get back to Coruscant, and then in between that and Obi-Wan going to Utapau to find Grievous, not a lot like happens, like in terms of like action sequences, but I'm never bored because like a lot of it's devoted to Anakin, being seduced by Palpatine, and knowing where that goes as like a tragic storytelling, knowing he's going to end up being this like horrific villain figure, it still works for me watching those scenes again.
Yeah, I think so too.
And there's one thing that, we've ragged a lot on George Lucas for his like, bad dialogue, not sounding natural and humanistic. But what he is good at from a writing standpoint is he lies a lot better on a macro level than a micro level, like thinking big picture, thinking like, how these pieces affect each other long term and how characters like progress or degress. So like, if there's one thing I really appreciate about not just this movie, but the whole prequels, it's the very operatic storytelling for Anakin,
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it is very like big picture tragic.
They're very broad strokes.
Which you kind of have to do. I think that's important to do when it's a story that you know the outcome of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know that he's going to be Darth Vader. We know that his story, even if we don't know the specifics, you know that it's not going to be a happy ending with him and Padme,
Mm-hmm.
So I think you kind of have to do these like big, sweeping, dramatic tragedies for it to pay off for a story that you already know the outcome of.
Yeah. And speaking of the Palpatine, I do love Ian McDiarmid in this movie, even more than the last one. Like,
yeah,
it's really helpful because, if you think about the Skywalker saga, Palpatine is the ultimate big bad, but we don't really get a lot of him We get a little bit of him in Jedi, but he's kind of just like a placeholder villain to, for them to team up against. In this one, you get a lot more of him like scheming and like a lot more of his dialogue, and it hits for me. So that's like another like check mark box that this movie gets right, or the prequels get right, is giving us this villain who is so engaging to watch, even though he's so slimy and slithery. Like it's just, I love it. Let's get into the action aspect of this movie. So we talked a lot about the opening space battle in the beginning. I do love we didn't really talk a lot about the actual flying sequences, though. I do really love this opening. It's one of my favorite openings of any Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's probably my favorite.
And it looks great still today, like the whole like dogfight sequences.
But really unless you want to break it down like fight by fight, but I think this movie in general has like my favorite Star Wars battles. Because like I said, this one, the pacing is great. There's a lot of action throughout the whole movie. And almost every main character has like a great fight scene. Their opening scene's good with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Obi-Wan has a great fight sequence with General Grievous. I love the fight with Yoda and Darth Sidious. And I love the end fight with Anakin and Obi-Wan. I think they're all so good. They're all scored really well.
And speaking of those last two fights in particular, like, and we talked a little bit about like in Jedi when it was kind of jarring to see it go from the throne room to Ewok stuff. But like, this is the one instance where like the two different location battle sequences going back and forth really works for me. Like going from Obi-Wan Anakin to Yoda Palpatine. Like it feels very fluid.
Yes, and I mean, it's kind of the same thing you just said, but I was going to bring up too, when we talked about the biggest problem. I mean, you have problems with Phantom Menace, but for me, the biggest problem was, when you go back and forth between the Jedi fights and like the Naboo field fight with Jar Jar, how we were like, ugh, every time it switches back to the field, you don't really want to see that. You just want to get back to the good fight. And in this one, when you're swapping between Anakin and Obi-Wan and like Yoda and Darth Sidious, like I'm fine either way because they're both enjoyable and it's like it makes the fluidity of it is great.
And it comes down to just this movie being way more tonally consistent than a lot of Star Wars movies. They really this is something they could have done. They could have like flinched at like the studio being like, oh, George, you're making like a Star Wars movie, but it's too dark, like it's too dour. Like this is supposed to be for kids. But they didn't balk at any of that. Like this movie goes hard in paint, and it's better for it.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, I mean, I was, let's see, speaking of the tone, I was 11 when this came out in theaters, and like this movie obviously doesn't show Anakin killing the young Jedi, but it more than makes you feel that he does.
That's a very dark scene.
Yeah, like that's a lot to put on an a somewhat younger audience. I mean, it's not too much. I wouldn't say it like scarred me, but like it is very powerful, and it definitely really sells his transition to the dark side. That he just like straight up murks these kids.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, that moment where he's like, Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do? Oh my God! It just like I mean,
and it hurts. They pick like the cutest kid for that line too. He's just like, oh, what we're actually gonna do is I'm gonna kill you, and it's like, oh God.
Fun fact about that moment: the moment where Anakin ignites his lightsaber and that kid has that like reaction. Obviously they didn't have an actual lightsaber to ignite on set, but in that moment with Hayden Christensen off screen, he just said all of a sudden, "Boo!" really quickly, and that's how he got that reaction from that kid.
Boo.
So you actually did scare him a little bit, And as long as we're talking about like the tone, like I love the third act of this movie is so freaking good because it commits to the darkness, and I especially love like how heated, no pun intended, the battle is between Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end, and Ewan McGregor's acting, especially at the very end after Anakin's like been destroyed, is so heartbreaking. I love it.
Yeah,
that's the reason why why Ewan McGregor is often called the best actor of these movies, is that last sequence. It almost makes me want to cry, like thinking about it. I'm saying like, you were my brother, I loved you. Like the pain is it's so good.
Yeah, it's there, and there's a lot of. I mean, rewatching it recently, I'm like, this is like a kind of emotional movie. Like that, you have that scene at like Padme's funeral back on Naboo when they're like taking her, where there's like the whole funeral procession for her, and then it pans and she's holding that like carving that Anakin made in Phantom. I was like, oh God, this this stings a little bit.
Yeah, it's a bummer kind of a movie, but it's a good bummer, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Seeing Boss Nass all sad just really hit me somewhere, you know?
Jar Jar's CGI tears really get me.
Let's see, what else? Yeah, fight scenes are incredible. I want to mention, going back to Grievous, the shot of him twirling those lightsabers before fighting Obi-Wan is one of my favorite shots in all of Star Wars.
Yes, but it's followed up by one of my least favorite shots,
which is,
and that's Obi-Wan's pose after, where he like puts his lightsaber like behind his back and like points at. I'm like, okay, this is terrible.
But that is consistent with his fighting style, and it is a particular fighting style that, you know, swordsmen use, and particularly Obi-Wan.
No, for sure. I just think it looks first like you get a really badass General Grievous moment, and then you get Obi-Wan's, and it's like, oh, you kind of ruined it.
Okay, sure.
And I just love the end of that fight too. I love that it's, you know, starts out as this big lightsaber fight, and then he really just ends up shooting him with a blaster in the chest twice. And then he's so like mad that that's how he had to end it.
So uncivilized.
Because he throws the gun down and he's like, oh, so uncivilized.
I can't. Okay, we have to mention Order 66, and I can't believe we didn't mention it until now. Like that sequence too, as long as we're talking about the tone, like transitioning
so
from
good.
The second act to the third act is like, again, like this movie knows how hard to go at certain points, and that is so. It's such a bleak scene, that montage of all the Jedi being murdered.
Yeah.
It is. Oh my God, it's so good. And Order 66 itself,
it's great.
It's such a pivotal moment in the Star Wars canon. It's been used so many more times, like in the shows, you know, from different points of view. So yeah, God, it's so good. Like this movie, like pretty much. I have problems with the first two in the prequel trilogy, but this movie, it lands the plane so well in terms of concluding the story for not just like Anakin, but Obi-Wan and all the Jedi and Yoda. Like it pretty much, like for me, salvages the prequels entirely, knowing that this is where it goes.
Yeah, and I think that every character, like I'm happy with every character at the end of this movie. Like, I mean, besides the characters who die, but you know that they're gonna die. Like everyone feels like fleshed out. Everyone's story arc seems like complete. Everybody has like a satisfactory kind of badass moment. So I think this movie's great.
Yeah. And if you do, and I have seen the animated shows, I've watched the Clone Wars and I've watched Rebels. Well, I guess Rebels is after this, so not really that one so much, but with Clone Wars, like if you do watch those, like it gives this whole movie just gains so much more depth, because you learn about like the clones themselves are tragic characters because they've been programmed as they were born to lead to this moment. Then afterwards, they're just discarded like trash, you know? And they go against like their better, like, you know, judgment because they can't help it. Like they have like their own characters, like, and their own personalities. And then all of a sudden they have to like murder their friends, you know?
Yeah, but are they, so correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't the remaining clones, don't they become stormtroopers?
No, at a certain point, Palpatine like gets rid of them. Like they are no longer, he replaces them. So the stormtroopers we see in A New Hope are just like recruits at that point.
Oh, see, I always just thought that like the remaining, I mean, and I know, and then they make it canon like in the sequel trilogy, because you get, you know, like Finn, who starts out as a stormtrooper, but I thought they were just all the leftover clones, and then they got like new recruits as they went.
So the answer I just searched for specifically is that it's a cheaper option than having clones. Like clones were necessary for him for his plot, but once he took over and had the Empire, clones became too expensive. And he didn't want the Kaminoans to become too rich off of this whole thing. So he like, and in I think it's in Star Wars The Bad Batch, which is a spinoff of Clone Wars, there's a sequence where they bomb the shit out of Kamino.
Oh.
Yeah. And with their accelerated aging too, like they're short-lived people. So it's just better to, you know. Anyway, is there anything else as far as this movie you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, because it it's easier for me to come up with things to talk about when I have something I really am like against or furious about. But like I've said, I don't have a lot of issues with this movie. I think it holds up. I really enjoy it. I enjoyed it when it came out. I enjoy it now. I think it's damn near perfect on my account.
Okay, well, let's move on to the release of this movie. So let's travel back to 2005. The marketing, we talked a little about the marketing of the last movie. The first trailer for this one was released in November of 2004 with The Incredibles. I saw that in theaters, but again, I don't remember the trailer.
No, I remember watching The Incredibles in theaters, though.
Yeah, me too.
Still my favorite Pixar movie.
The second trailer of this movie was released in March of 2005 with the animated movie Robots.
Oh, I also love that movie.
Yeah, I saw that too in theaters.
Yeah, that's fun.
And that was also a Fox. That was the Blue Sky company, who is mostly known for Ice Age, but that was one of the other ones, which also Ian McGregor voices that one.
Yes, that movie Robots has like a stacked cast, though.
Robin Williams, Amanda Bynes, Greg Kinnear.
Who else you get? Norm Macdonald, Jennifer Coolidge, Greg Kinnear,
Big
Halle
Aunt Fanny.
Yeah.
It's kind of a forgotten diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the first Star Wars movie as well that is rated PG-13, which was also a concern going into this,
Really?
I mean, obviously it merits it, the PG-13 rating, because it's so dark.
Sure.
But like, I guess they were worried that, PG-13 was going to scare off, a lot of, younger audiences.
Younger kids, yeah.
It definitely did not. To be honest, like, I mean, Phantom Menace, I could maybe see being PG, but Attack of the Clones should probably be PG-13 too. Like, nowadays, if those movies get released, they're PG-13.
Yeah, because anything with, I mean, even though it's not real, like guns and bullets, you'd think anything with like a gunfight or a sword fight or with people dying is immediately like PG-13.
Yeah. Like, nowadays, you don't really see PG movies that are live action at all anymore.
No. Plus, I mean, look at how much ratings Jaws was a PG-13 movie, which is insane.
No, Jaws is PG.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
Because I should mention, PG-13, I mean, I say it's the first Star Wars movie that was PG-13, but it should be mentioned that PG-13 didn't come into existence until after the original trilogy came out. So, which I think it was 1984. Red Dawn was the first PG-13 movie.
Really?
Yeah. Again, like, nowadays, PG-13 is really prevalent, but even in the 2000s, PG was still kind of more of a thing.
I don't even see, what else? I feel like you don't even get like G movies anymore.
Not outside of like Pixar or something like that.
But even then, like a lot of Disney movies now are PG.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've upped the rating system for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop parents from taking their shit kids to see these movies they should be seeing.
Oh, no. And that makes, I get so mad when there's a 9-year-old in a rated R movie. Not for the moral purpose. I don't care. Do whatever you want. But I care when your little kid is talking through my rated R movie that there should be no children in.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of which, I had a teenage couple sit right in front of me for the entirety of Project Hail Mary. They would not shut up.
I just don't get. We can go. This is a side tangent, but
sure,
the theater etiquette death is crazy. Look at when we watched Scream, Tim. We had grown adults that would not quit talking right next to us.
Yeah. And I asked these kids in Project Hail Mary to be quiet twice, and they still kept talking. Like, just the disrespect is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I don't want to be like old man yells at cloud with like theater etiquette, but I just...
No, it's because it is one of the things that will send me into a Karen frenzy. Like, and I think it's justifiable. Like, people pay a lot of money to go to theaters. Mm-hmm. And if you want to sit on your phone, if you want to talk to your friends about a movie, don't go to a movie theater. Because I don't think that the etiquette should change to like, well, that's what everyone wants to do is talk on their phone or why shouldn't I be allowed to text or talk to my friend? And it's like, no, that's what movies at home are for.
I mean, it's technically against the rules to talk and you'd be on your phone, but it's not enforced. It's not enforced. Like, and if I went out there to the lobby and said something, number one, I'm missing part of the movie, which is a big thing for me. And number two, they're not going to do anything.
No, and I don't know if they will. Probably not, because my theater is run by a bunch of like 15-year-olds that you can tell that's the last place they want to be. So I doubt they're going to go out and kick somebody out.
Yeah, and if they do, they'll go in and be like, and then they'll be like, okay, But that's it. They're not going to actually kick someone out. Like they're worried enough as it is of keeping business going that they're not going to actively kick anybody out.
No. But I will preach theater etiquette until the day I die, because I think it's
Yeah.
one of the things that makes me the most angry, and I think it's so rude.
Yeah, like be respectful, people. Like there are people who actually want to, and the problem with them was like they're right in front of us. So every time he moved his head to whisper in her ear, it drove my attention every time, and it's distracting. I don't want to be thinking about you when I'm watching this movie for the first time, and it's just like we're not in your living room. Okay. Anyway, that I could do a whole podcast episode on people being shitheads in theaters, but
Ugh, me too.
all right. Anyway, what we're talking about this movie's how did we get on this? The PG-13 rating?
I
Okay,
don't
yeah.
remember.
Yeah,
We
we're
were
talking
talking
about
about trailers.
we're talking we're talking about the rating system, and then we got all worked up. Okay, so let's move on. Box office. This movie's a big hit. This movie, we talked a little bit last time about how Attack of the Clones was a bit of a dip, and this movie doesn't make as much as Phantom either, but it does see a spike. And we kind of mentioned last time how some of the depression in box office for Attack of the Clones was due to the mixed reception to Phantom, that some people were thinking like, oh, like I didn't like the last one, I'll skip this one, and that probably could have happened for this one too, because Attack of the Clones, again, not super well loved, but I think what this one had going for it was, oh, this is like the finale, I have to see it, so it was a little bit critic proof in that regard from the last one.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of a natural thing with trilogies, maybe, is that I feel like the middle one's always kind of like the dip of them.
I don't know. Tell that to all the Divergent movies or something like that. Like the ones that just kept going down and down and down,
Ugh. Yeah, and well, yeah.
I mean, Star Wars is basically, in a sense, I mean, depending on how much budget they have, they should budget it wisely. But in a sense, it's kind of, appointment viewing for a lot of people. Like, look at Avatar. Like, we keep talking about how no one cares about Avatar anymore. Still makes $2 billion.
Yeah.
Like people are just like, I have to go see it. It's this, it's in the theater. I have to go see it. So yeah, I feel like a lot
That's
of that
true.
was true for this movie. So anyway, to get the nitty gritty, and now we're going to go into Tim talks about numbers. Everyone get ready. Join the numbers train. This movie makes $16.9 million in midnight screenings, which today would be $28.2 million. It makes $50 million opening day, which today is $83.6 million. So it's a lot for one day. That's a lot. Opening weekend, this makes $108.4 million, which today is $181.4 million. To put that into perspective, I think last year, 2025, the highest, like the biggest opening weekend was either Minecraft or Lilo and Stitch, and those only got to like 160. So like it'd be outperforming those movies today.
Wow.
If you wanted to pull a Barbenheimer in 2005 and pair, a movie with Revenge of the Sith, it was released alongside Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. So Barbenheimer title I have here, Revenge of the Exorcist.
Would that even be a Barbenheimer? Because who went and watched that?
No one did. In fact, it was not to get into Exorcist too much, but it was they basically stopped filming the prequel and fired everybody and then started filming again. So there were two of the same movies that came out, basically, with this was the second one that no one saw. It was like the original work print of the first movie before they stopped production in the middle of it. It's like unwatchable. Also, the top 10 that week, to go to a box office flashback, we have Monster-in-Law, Kicking and Screaming, the Will Ferrell movie, Crash, the eventual Best Picture winner, Kingdom of Heaven, House of Wax, starring Paris Hilton, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I like all of those movies except for one.
Don't tell me it's Crash.
Yeah, the Best Picture winner is the one movie on that list I don't like.
Oh God. Your opinion is the popular one. Everyone dumps in that movie all the time. I love it.
Love Crash?
Yeah, I'll defend Crash.
Okay.
But in fairness, I only saw it in high school theater class. Not theater, film class, when we were studying ensemble narratives, like and how they interconnect. And my teacher loved that movie, so it could be. And I haven't watched it since then, so it could be that I just love the circumstances of it. But
those were the top 10 for the whole year?
No, sorry, that was the top 10 that weekend of Revenge of the Sith.
Oh.
No. Yeah, definitely not.
I'm like, there's a lot of 2005 movies that I thought would be on the top 10 list that were not mentioned.
Oh no, we'll get into that as we talk about Revenge of the Sith's final year-end box office total. But that was just like if you were going to the movies that weekend, those are your other options.
Mm.
This movie, at the time, the number one movie of the year was Hitch in 2005 with $177.6 million, which Revenge of the Sith eclipses in just 5 days of release.
Wow.
Yeah, Hitch, though, was I think that was actually that one was in the top 10 at the end of the year for 2005. Revenge of the Sith was also number one for only 2 weekends, actually. And it was passed after that. In the third weekend, it comes in number 3 behind Madagascar and The Longest Yard.
Huh.
Although Madagascar and The Longest Yard were both in their second weekends by the time it overtook Revenge of the Sith. So in week 2, Revenge of the Sith grossed more than the opening weekends of Madagascar and The Longest Yard. But in the weekend after that, they passed it.
Okay.
Which Madagascar was I was looking back at that one. That one was a huge movie in 2005 too. I remember seeing that one.
Yeah.
Even then, that weekend when it lost the number 1 spot, it still beat the opening weekends of Cinderella Man, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and The Lords of Dogtown.
I can see that though.
Although I'm still waiting for those Pants girls to come back.
Well, and Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants was big when it came out.
Yeah.
Especially for a teen girl movie where that's the main demographic. Like that was a big deal in middle school when everybody went and watched that, and everybody had read that book.
Yeah, that gets a sequel. So I'm sure it had a better legs at the box office than opening.
Yeah.
Okay, so domestically, Revenge of the Sith, the end of its lifespan, grosses, or at least at the initial release, grosses $380.3 million, which today would be $636 million. It's the number 1 movie domestically of 2005, and it's ahead of the number 2 movie by $89 million. The number 2 movie, can you guess what that was? Came out in Christmas of 2005.
King Kong.
No, not King Kong, although King Kong was in the top 5. This is also a fantasy adaptation of a big book series.
Oh, in 2005. So post Lord of the Rings, I don't know, Aragon, but Aragon was 2006.
Oh, you're really close with Lord of the Rings because this probably comes out because of Lord of the Rings being such a big hit.
I don't know.
It's Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, duh. Jesus.
Yeah, that was the number 2 movie of 2005 in domestically.
I remember I'm going to tell a story. So my mom took my brother and my brother's best friend. They were out of town on they had a baseball game or a field trip or something. Anyway, they were across the state and it was an overnight trip. And my mom took my brother and his friend to go watch Narnia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the one who was really excited for that movie. And so they came home and they were I was like, oh, how was your trip? What'd you do? And she's like, oh, we went and watched Narnia. And I was like, what? You went without me? And she's like, oh yeah, it was so good. And she's like, don't worry, we'll go, I'll take you this weekend or something. And I'm like, one, I can't believe you watched it without me. And then my mom was like, oh, and I think I liked it better than Lord of the Rings. And then I was just like, which I personally do not. I love Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but not better than Lord of the Rings. And
no, not even close.
Mom, you're smoked.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're kind of put off by how, dark Lord of the Rings is and gritty, then, seeing this lighter version could appeal to you.
Well, sure. And I mean, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is much more mom friendly than Lord of the Rings is.
Yeah.
So of course she's like, oh, I loved it.
Going into worldwide totals for Revenge of the Sith, this movie makes $849 million, which today is $1.4 billion. So another $1 billion grosser for Star Wars. However, this movie nor Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe were number 1 worldwide. This movie is number 2 worldwide, Revenge of the Sith. But the number 1 movie goes from 3rd to 1 from domestic to worldwide. Can you guess what that one was?
If I just guess King Kong every time, am I going to be right eventually?
Not this time, no.
Okay. Well, then I'm not. I don't know.
This is also a sequel, a number 4 entry in a big franchise.
A number 4 entry from 2005.
Mm-hmm. Comes out in November.
Tim, that's not helpful. You think I remember what I did in November of 2005?
You didn't see Goblet of Fire?
Oh, yeah, but I figured Harry Potter would be a summer movie.
I think half of them were. So Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Goblet, and Deathly Hallows Part 1 were Novembers, I think. And the rest were Julys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know why I did it certain ways, but yeah, this was in November. Anyway, so that one has a more wide, global appeal than Star Wars, I guess.
Sure.
Which, speaking of which, we always talk about how the Chinese market is such a big thing, for international grosses,
but
not really for Star Wars historically.
Really?
because they didn't get the original movies back in the day, I don't think. So like they didn't really grow up with Star Wars, so it's not really a thing for them. Like I mean, they'll see
Well,
it,
and then they
but
probably got Phantom Menace and saw the bucket load of Asian appropriation and was like, "Fuck this movie."
sure. But yeah, but Harry Potter was a global sensation from the beginning, so
True, true.
Anyway, all right, let's get into the critical reception of this movie. Again, we'll start with the positives first, but this isn't like the last time where I have like one thing to mention for positives. This movie gets way better review than the last two. Like people call this, even at the time, they call this the best of the prequel trilogy. And they say things like we are talking about how this movie is like really, really exciting. Like they like the dark themes. They like that this movie goes there. It's got balls. They like the operatic storytelling and the music a lot. So this movie hits for pretty much everybody in that regard. But again, like there are some things that are still bad about this movie. So a lot of the negative reviews have to focus on, again, the dialogue, the romance between Anakin and Padme. Hayden Christensen still gets some bad reviews for this movie too, even though he's better than the last one.
Yeah.
This movie though also prompts some political reactions because at the time, this is at like the height of the Iraq War, and people were saying how they thought it was really like this movie had like a liberal bias, like conservatives thought it was like a pointed criticism at George Bush, like being Palpatine, I guess.
What?
I don't know. It's kind of a stretch. And Lucas responded. He basically said, "Well, I understand that there are parallels to real life, but he made this story, or he conceived this story during Vietnam, so."
Yeah, I guess if anything, it has to. I mean, you can draw any parallel from any real world like war scenario because it's never good, but.
Yeah, but that was just, I guess at the time, like that was the height of it,
Sure.
So that was on a lot of people's minds, Like nowadays, I don't watch Revenge of the Sith and think of like the war.
No, and I can't think of any parallel where it's like a direct correlation where you're like, oh, this really is like feels like America in 2005. But
No, there are those movies that do that, like even blockbusters. They have done that before. But I don't feel it with this one in particular.
yeah, I don't really either.
And I think like the thematic, like the themes of war are more general, like, so if you see those themes in real life, it's because that's how war is,
Yeah.
Yeah, don't entirely agree on that point, but I guess it's better than having, criticism of racism in your movie.
Well, yeah.
That's eternal. Speaking of which, I did notice there was a lot less like Newt Gunray dialogue in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, like the Viceroy are still prevalent in it, but yeah, they really cut them back to like one-liners.
And even the dialogue they do, it doesn't feel so like pronounced like it was in the first one.
Yes.
Anyway. All right, let's get into the scores of this movie. So basically across the internet, this movie's got a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes, 66% audience scores. It's got a 68 on Metacritic, 8 user score. 7.7 on IMDb, 4.1 on the Letterboxd, pretty high there. And it got an A- cinema score, which is consistent for all the prequels. So again, we're seeing like this movie, pretty good marks across the board from everybody.
Agreeable.
Despite the better reviews, though, for this movie, this is the first Star Wars film not to be nominated for Best Visual Effects.
Yeah, but I mean, you get into like mid 2000s and you're starting to get some heavy competition.
Yeah, so the movies that were nominated were King Kong, obviously. That's a no-brainer. In fact, that's the one that wins. You get Narnia and War of the Worlds.
All good.
But this is also a year, like nowadays, they actually have 5 nominees in this category. This is back when they only had 3. So if there were 5, it probably sinks in.
Yeah.
And I think there was a little bit of a bias against these movies back in the day. Like, people looked at the prequels and thought of them as like, lesser Star Wars, basically. So whereas like nowadays, like in the sequel trilogy, like they give out Oscar nominations like left and right because it's the legacy movies, like, oh, these are the nostalgic to the originals,
Yeah.
So it's all about like perception, I guess. This movie does get 1 Oscar nomination for best makeup, but it loses to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I guess for what's the makeup in that one? Like the creatures? Are they people?
Yeah,
Or...
I mean, it would be like most of the like the centaurs and like probably James McAvoy's like Mr. Tumnus makeup.
Oh, true.
I was like, oh, Tilda Swinton, but she's always pale and scary looking.
And here comes Mrs. White looking pale and tragic.
Yeah, I would agree with that though, because Lion the Witch, the Wardrobe did a lot of like practical,
Mhm.
like prosthetic makeup, and so I'm happy with that outcome.
Whereas in this movie, you get like the burning effects of Anakin being makeup, and then I don't know, Kiadi Mundi's like giant head.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because a lot of it's CGI too.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
This movie also gets way fewer Golden Raspberry nominations than the last few. This one only gets one nomination, which is the fewest of the prequels. The first two got 7 nominations each. But this one does win, I guess, win in quotes, a Raspberry for Hayden Christensen again wins Worst Supporting Actor. Which he's not as he's the lead. He's the lead of the movie.
Yeah, and the Razzies are just so like brutal.
Yeah, it's more about like it's less about actually evaluating like you know, the Oscars are more about valuing what's the best, right? But the Razzies are more about like, oh, what's funnier to make fun of, you know?
Yeah.
So it's not really about like evaluating the actual worst thing. I mean, a lot of these things are bad, but like, you know, like I did write down the other nominees in this category. You had Alan Cumming and Bob Hoskins for Son of the Mask. You had Eugene Levy for Cheaper by the Dozen 2 and The Man. I don't know what that is, but the Razzies they like to nominate for dual years for multiple movies.
What's wrong with Eugene Levy in Cheaper by the Dozen 2? Like, it's not a great movie, but he's not like bad in it.
No, again, I don't get it.
Huh.
The last one is Burt Reynolds for Dukes of Hazzard in The Longest Yard. I mean, if I had to vote on these, like I would give it to Burt Reynolds for just Dukes of Hazzard. But you know,
Yeah.
I mean, Son of the Mask is horrible, but I don't think it's Alan Cummings' fault.
No, I mean that's a terrible movie, but Alan Cummings great.
Yeah. So again, like I think it's just like, oh, Star Wars is the biggest like target. Let's just take a pot shot at it with Hayden Christensen again. Okay, let's move on to post-release. This movie is the first Star Wars film not to be released on VHS in the United States. It would elsewhere, but this is officially the death of cassette players for Star Wars here.
I didn't actually even get a copy of this. I didn't own this movie until I was an adult.
Did you have any of the prequels on VHS?
I had Phantom Menace on VHS.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. 90s.
It was a hefty tape.
Really?
It was a heavy one.
How is it? It couldn't have been bigger because it has to fit in the slot, right? So
Yeah, it was, but you know, like famously, Titanic was on 2 VHS tapes.
no, I didn't
I
know
don't know
that, but makes sense.
Oh yeah, like my Titanic was I still have that copy, but it's a double VHS.
Is this more like film on it or whatever, like
Yeah, I
inside?
think just because it was so long.
Okay.
But no, I mean but you could just tell, like if you pull out like a Disney movie, like Sleeping Beauty on VHS that movie's an hour and 6 minutes or something. It's short.
Mhm.
So it's like a light tape, like the reel's not even full of like tape.
Yeah.
But then you pull out like Phantom Menace where it is on one VHS and it was like a heavy tape. Same with like Fellowship of the Ring. I had that on DVD, but my grandparents had Fellowship of the Ring on VHS, and that was like a full tape. It was hefty.
So post-release, this movie, of course, we talked last time about how Attack of the Clones had its 3D release canceled. This one did too because of Disney, Overlord Disney. Although it does get a 20th anniversary release in April of 2025, which I remember. I mean, it was last year, so of course I remember. But I remember it being like a big deal. I didn't go see it, but I wish I did.
My theater doesn't do a lot of like the re-releases because it's just too small.
But opening weekend for a movie that was 20 years old, this movie makes $25.5 million.
On that re-release?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it was number 2 that weekend behind Sinners.
Huh.
In fact, it beat the opening weekends of new movies, The Accountant 2 and Until Dawn. Yeah, for those of us who don't know us, we're big Until Dawn fans, the game that is. So the movie, not. Although, did you watch it, Tanner?
Yeah, that movie was hot garbage.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you did. Yeah, no, yeah. I don't feel bad for that. It deserves to lose.
Especially if you're a video game fan, because I think that game is phenomenal.
It is.
That movie trash.
Yeah, don't feel bad. This movie, so it also makes $43.2 million worldwide the opening weekend for the re-release. And domestic, it's now crossed the $400 million mark. So it's just crazy that like a 20-year-old movie can come out and just smoke this new competition.
Yeah. But like what a flex though.
Yeah.
Like, hey, everybody because based on just the first box office success, like everybody in the world has seen this movie and we're going to re-release it and people are still going to go watch it over your new stuff.
This is actually a good segue to the legacy segment because like I feel like this movie has really, I mean, all the prequels have, well, maybe not Attack of the Clones, but like in general, the prequels have appreciated and, appreciation. viewer appreciation over time, especially this one. So like, it's not surprising that people would want to go re-experience this movie. In fact, like I was, when I wrote my Letterboxd review for this movie after rewatching it, I always read, people I'm friends with on there, and a lot of them are even more positive than me. Like this movie is like glowing on Letterboxd.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of nostalgia for this movie. I don't blame it. It's great.
Yeah.
So we're adding a new segment to this part of the podcast, Tanner. We're gonna go into the effect on the careers of those involved. We didn't do it the last time because and we won't do it every time because a lot of the times it's these people come back for the next one, which we'll be covering. But since this is like the end of an era for Star Wars, it felt appropriate to do it now. So we'll start with George Lucas himself. This is the last movie he directs at all, and he's 80 something now, 83. So probably the last movie he'll ever direct. So it has a lot of that added weight to it.
But way to go out with a bang for him. At least it was a successful one.
Yeah, like thank God he stuck the landing. And after this, he basically retires. He totally like he sells Lucasfilm in 2012, 7 years later. So yeah, he was already a billionaire. But the person that this movie probably does, I mean, not just this movie, but the prequels in general, it does hurt the career of Hayden Christensen. I don't think it's up for debate. His next big movie is Jumper in 2008. He leads, but that movie gets panned. I think it does well, but no one really talks about it anymore.
No.
So his career definitely takes a hit because people say, "Oh, I like the trilogies or the prequel trilogy," but Hayden Christensen sucks. Like he was a punching bag for a long time after these came out.
Yeah.
And nowadays you get people defending him, but like when he's in his 20s and this should be the prime of his leading actor career, he doesn't get that because people don't back then they don't want to see the next Hayden Christensen movie.
Yeah.
But he does, because he's attached to this really, nostalgic fan base, he does come back to play Vader, in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series. Did you watch that?
I did, yes.
How'd you feel? I love that series of a lot for, I think it's one of my favorites of the bunch that they made.
Out of like the Disney Plus Star Wars stuff, I think it's probably the best one. I didn't love it though. I think it still left me wanting a lot more.
I liked it because I thought it like actually made the prequels even better, delving into like the final battle with Vader and Obi-Wan. And it gives you more closure for Obi-Wan's character because like if you watch, I mean, obviously he doesn't change where he is. They couldn't do that. Like he's still on Tatooine watching over Luke, but like it fills in some gaps because at the end of this movie, Revenge of the Sith, he's super, sad. And
yeah,
like his heart is broken. And then the next one in New Hope, which is like, 20 years later, but still he's kind of more chipper, so it does allow you to, it shows you how he kind of comes to terms with what happened in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it.
I mean, say what you want about Disney doing too much fan service, but it does feel like, this is the fan service for the prequel specifically. Okay, moving on to Ewan McGregor. So Ewan McGregor, of course, gets his own series because of this. He was kind of like the one actor that everyone, the whole time liked in these movies, in the prequels. Yeah. I wouldn't say he like became like he blew up, but his career never really took a hit from this.
Yeah, I think Ewan McGregor's been pretty steady all through the 2000s.
Yeah, and he's still working today. Like I don't feel like his output went skyrocketed, but like he's still doing work. He's still recognizable. So
yeah,
the one person whose career does get better though is Natalie Portman. Not necessarily because of this movie, but after this, like she becomes like a real like dramatic heavy actor.
I think these movies helped her to become more of like a household name.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she kind of just went up and up from here.
Yeah, and she does Black Swan 5 years after this, which gets her the Oscar. You also got Samuel L. Jackson. This was him kind of at this point in his career. He was already rising, and he only kept going after this. He becomes like the highest paid actor at a certain point once he starts doing like the Avengers movies and all the various franchises he's joined.
Bro, you can't coming off of the high of Star Wars to put out Snakes on a Plane. You don't get any higher than that.
Well, yeah, it's the Mile High Club. I would say it helped his career. I don't think it like changed it drastically, but it does add to his legacy.
Yeah.
Oh, and while we're talking about it, we didn't talk about it during the review. I do really like Mace Windu's usage in this movie. Like I like how his death is paired with Anakin's decision to turn.
For sure. And he's the only really sensible person in this whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we talked earlier about him being kind of like the buzzkill of the prequels or the buzzkill of the Jedi Council, but he's the only one who's like, this guy's fucked. All this shit is shady. I don't like what's happening here. No one's doing anything about it. And then he's finally like, you know what? I'm going to go arrest this guy. He's a fucking criminal. We already know it.
And he's right to tell Anakin not to come.
Yeah. And then Anakin just fucks everything up. And it's like, oh, okay.
But it works for the story. Like it's great.
Oh yeah, it's very necessary.
And I forgot to mention this earlier, but Samuel L. Jackson had to fight for his death because I think originally he was going to just kind of be taken out pretty quickly, but he wanted a more dramatic end to him. Like he's like, no, I can't go out like a chump, basically.
Yeah.
So he gets a really memorable death, and thank God for it. Now I'm going to go down some lists. A lot of these people also end up returning to the franchise at some point. So even though they're part of this, prequel trilogy that's not as beloved, eventually they do, they do come back in some regard. They're remembered, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Ian McDiarmid, of course, famously comes back for Rise of Skywalker, infamously, I should say. Jimmy Smits comes back as Bail Organa in Rogue One. Anthony Daniels he's in everything, so he never left. Kenny Baker comes back to be a consultant on Force Awakens, although he didn't act in it. Like he wasn't in the suit. I actually don't think it was a suit in that movie. So this, unfortunately, Revenge of the Sith is Kenny Baker's last acting role before he passes away in 2016.
Oh.
Yeah. Frank Oz, though, comes back, of course, as Yoda in The Last Jedi. I guess I would say spoilers, but I feel like you already know this. Christopher Lee comes back to do the Clone Wars, which preview for next week, we're going to be talking about the Clone Wars movie. Buckle up for that. But Christopher Lee does come back he's one of the few actually that comes back to voice their characters in that movie.
Huh.
But unfortunately, this is also the last time we see Dooku in live action before Christopher Lee also passes away in 2015. Which is too bad. I would have liked to see more of him if you could fit him in somewhere in the timeline. And then lastly, you have Timur Morrison, who him being in these movies definitely helps his career because now he's just like in everything Star Wars. When he's playing Boba Fett or just various clone troopers,
It's always interesting when actors, I think, have like kind of one main like property that they're associated with. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Like the people that lean into it, I love. So for him to be like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. That's Star Wars. I'm there. Because he's just like always down.
And now he's in like Aquaman and shit. So like he's in plenty of other things. It's not just like he's not just known for Star Wars anymore.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it. That's all the names. I mean, we could go into more names, but those are the main names from this movie in particular and the franchise as a whole. So we're gonna do this like little like legacy recap section for people's careers going forward, but we're gonna do it for movies where they don't come back afterwards. So I don't think we'll do a lot of the sequel trilogy people until Rise of Skywalker. Like we're not gonna do it for the first two unless they do like leave the franchise for whatever reason in between. But yeah, I thought it was like a cool and fun thing to look at as long as we're talking about the legacy of these movies.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Plus, I mean, we didn't do it for the original trilogy, but again, a lot of those people come back, so we still can,
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all. That's our discussion for Revenge of the Sith. We've done it. Let's move into our pop culture shoutouts. Tanner, would you like to start?
Yeah, actually in the last week since I talked to you, I haven't seen anything new. I've been crossing off a couple of my oldies from my watch list. So 2 nights ago, I watched Sleeping with the Enemy for the first time. Mm-hmm. A nice little 1991 Julia Roberts banger. That was good. And then I guess in other pop culture news, as we record this today, the trailer for HBO's Harry Potter series dropped. So I have thoughts on that. Tim, did you watch that?
I did, yeah.
Do you want to go with your thoughts first?
They'll be like, I guess, neat to like re-experience, but at the same time, I don't need it.
Yeah, I will say that when I watched it, I was nervous that it was going to look cheaper or like cheesier in a way, I guess, not having like the film production behind it. But HBO usually puts out good looking stuff. I think it looks fine. I'm not like totally against it. But again, like I would have rather seen a show, I think, where they explore a different dynamic of Harry Potter. Like a lot of people said that they wanted like a Marauders show or a show about like the founders of Hogwarts. And I think that would have been maybe a more rewarding medium because I also feel like I don't need this. There's things that look different that I'm excited about, but it also just in a way feels copycatish.
Yeah.
And I just really don't think it's been long enough since Harry Potter was relevant. And I think the Harry Potter films are still very relevant. I mean,
And they hold up too.
Yeah, they hold up well. The theme park is doing well.
Like it'd be one thing if those movies weren't like good or they weren't good enough to be like, okay, let's go back and do them again and do them right. But
Sure.
like, I don't feel that way. So it kind of feels like we're remaking The Godfather, you know?
Yeah, like I think it's a film series that for the most part people really enjoy. Like the people that like those movies like them.
Mhm.
You know, people aren't just complaining about how much they got. And there's always good parts for a TV show. Like I think this one will explore a lot more of like the backstories that you miss out on. It's obviously going to have more stuff from the books in them, which I'm excited to see that stuff. But I also don't feel like the things that were omitted from all of the movies were stuff that I was like really mad about.
Mhm.
So we'll see. Like I'll watch it. I'll give it a shot, but I feel like I don't need it.
Yeah, the way I see it, it's not going to eclipse the movies in terms of what's rehashed or filmed again. It's going to come down to like whether or not this is like worth it is going to come down to is if the filler stuff that we're getting on top of it is good enough. And I don't know if because that first book is like 300 pages. Like it's not that long.
No, and the first movie, I mean, there's like, not to get too deep into Harry Potter, but like there's not a ton that's left out of, especially the first and like second ones.
So it's probably going to be them adding a lot of stuff.
Yeah, like the major things from the first book that they're missing is like when Ron's brother comes to collect Norbert the dragon and they go meet him on the rooftop of the school, like that's cut out. And like the part where Malfoy tricks Harry into like the midnight duel, he like tricks him into sneaking out and then he doesn't show up and it's like a trap. Like, but again, that's not stuff that's like super relevant to the story. Like the story still progresses fine without it.
Yeah. I've been saying for years that I want a Hogwarts show, like a show about Hogwarts that's not Harry Potter, like original storytelling, new characters, set it maybe a century before everybody we know, so you can kind of like be outside of it. So I really wish they just did that. But I mean, I get it. Like Harry Potter is the brand, so... Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would like to say I'm cautiously optimistic, but I don't think that I'll like it more than the movies.
For you listeners out there, though, do expect us. I think obviously we like to do franchises as new entries and movies come out, but we will also we're not opposed to doing movie episodes for when TV shows come out. So we probably will do Harry Potter when it comes out. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, I'd love to sit and talk about Harry Potter. You guys won't get me to shut up.
Yes. So we'll go into this probably in December. Okay. I don't have much of a pop culture shout out this week per se. Last week I saw Project Hail Mary. This week I didn't really see a lot. I did just watch for the first time The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, I love that movie.
You do? Okay. I did not like it.
He's such a little psycho.
Oh, okay. Macaulay Culkin in the movie is great. Like he actually subverts his typecasting pretty well. I feel like that movie though is a little basic by the numbers, like crazy person thriller.
Yeah, but sometimes I like I like a good by the numbers popcorn movie.
Yeah. But that was one I've been wanting to watch for a long time and it was finally available. That one came out actually like a week after my birthday, after I was born. So yeah, I mean I didn't like it, but I enjoyed watching it. Anyway, all right. Thank you guys so much. That is our show. Tune in next week as we have finished the prequel trilogy, but we will be staying in the Clone Wars era for one more week. We're going to go with Star Wars, the Clone Wars animated movie from 2008. Tanner, there was a little bit of a talk about whether we want to include this one in our, rundown or not, but I figured it was theatrically released, like,
yeah, you know what, you guys, listeners, this was Tim's decision. I would have omitted this movie, but
well, I just we're basically going to have to play a little bit like, fast and loose with the scheduling for this show as we go on. Like sometimes we're not going to have space to have an episode, for everything. So we might have to make some cuts down the line. But I figured if we're doing Star Wars, like the movie franchise to start with, I want to do the whole thing and I want to do a complete franchise recap. So yeah.
Because who doesn't need 3 months of Star Wars?
I love the self-effacement on this podcast. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. You can find new episodes of Back to the Franchise wherever you get your podcasts every Tuesday. We have some social media you can also reach out to us on. I am on Letterboxd at TGMacman. That's TGMACMAN. And Tanner, where can they find you?
I'm on Instagram, Tanwell10.
And if you want us to answer some questions you have, please reach out to us. You have an email address, questions@backtothefranchise.com. We haven't got anything yet, but I'm sure we're going to. We're going to put a segment on the podcast of answering your questions. Whatever you want to ask us, we're desperate. We'll do anything.
I retort that say I actually won't answer stupid questions. So send me your questions, listeners, but make them things I want to answer.
What is your favorite brand of Doritos, Tanner?
I don't like Doritos, actually.
Oh, wrong answer. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to us. And please, if you can, rate and review. It really helps the podcast grow. Tell your friends about us, share us, whatever. Do all the things. It really helps us because, who wants to talk into a void?
Yeah.
Anyway, so thank you guys so much. Until next week, may the force be with you.
See you next week.